Hey guys, welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. Today's episode is a mega video with some beautiful spring DIYs. I think you're really going to enjoy these. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing and becoming my crafting BFF. If you do like any of today's projects, remember to hit that thumbs up, but let's get right into the DIYs. I just love the look of this little pot on Kirkland's website and thought I could try and replicate it. It doesn't look exactly like this one, but I think it turns out pretty good, the same feel. I just got this pot at Dollar Tree, and the one at Kirkland's kind of looked a little bit roughed up, so I'm just taking some white chalk paint with a chip brush, and I'm just doing a very light dry brushing all over this, and I go over the entire pot a couple of times, and I'll do a layer, wait for it to dry, and I'll even do like an up and down motion with the brush as well, like tapping it onto the pot to give a little bit more detail to it. These pots are great from Dollar Tree, and they're actually pretty sturdy. They're all just plastic, as I'm sure that you can tell or that you've guessed, but I really liked the shape of this one because it had kind of that rounder, bulbous like shape to the bottom of it, and I thought it was really kind of gave that same feel that the Kirkland pot gives as well. So here I'm just showing that tapping motion I was talking about earlier. I have such a small amount of paint. It's just what's left on my paint after doing all of the dry brushing. And this just gives a little bit of a different texture to it, helps break up all of the distressing and everything, just something extra. So I'm putting a few Jenga blocks or something in the bottom, and I'm just showing you this is a plant from IKEA, and it fits perfectly in there if you have something little to kind of prop it up. So that's a great alternative to put in there. I also had this little topiary ball that I got at Hobby Lobby. It was from their spring line, and so it was 50% off when I bought it, so it was $4. And so I'm just showing you that that works absolutely perfect there. And it was very light with those Jenga blocks in there and that topiary ball. So I just grabbed some rocks I had. You can get those from your yard, or Dollar Tree sells them, any craft store. Stuck those in the bottom, and then I just tucked this little topiary ball down in there. Here's a look at the Kirkland's inspiration, and then here's a look at how mine turned out. It is not exactly the same, I do know that, but it gives the same feel and the same vibe, and I think for a fraction of the cost, it turned out lovely. It's going to be the perfect touch to anywhere in my decor that needs just a little bit of greenery. This DIY turns out so cute. Dollar Tree has these little nesting boxes in their crafting corner, and I'm using 2 of those, and then I'm just using a wooden dowel, or you can pick up a plunger at Dollar Tree and just use the handle on the plunger. It's made out of wood. You can use that for your wooden dowels, and it's sometimes a lot cheaper than getting them like at the craft store or hardware store. Now I have just cut my dowel down to the size that I want my little tiered tray to be, and which I think this is about 7 inches that I did, and I'm just using some hot glue and wood glue. Now I wanted to glue my dowel more towards the back of the box because I want more items to be able to fit in the front when I decorate with it, because this will be in a space where you won't really see the back of it. So keep in mind, if you want to decorate it all the way around, you might want to center your dowel a little bit more. Now just using some hot glue and wood glue, I just do the same process to get that top nesting box glued on. Here's just a bonus little hack for you. If you ever find little napkin rings, keep in mind of what you might be able to do with them. This particular napkin ring came from Hobby Lobby. The little pot came from Dollar Tree. I'm just using it to stuff in my little tiered tray. It looks almost like a little topiary there, even if you see the hole in the middle. But those little napkin rings, if you ever find those at any stores that you're traveling to, keep in mind of different things you can do with them on tiered trays because they're a lot of fun. Dollar Tree has recently had a lot of these wooden beads. You get them in a pack of 125, and it comes in all sorts of different sizes. So I'm just going to make a little beaded garland because I love hanging beaded garland from different things. It adds a lot of texture, and I just think they're really cute. So I'm just doing a little pattern with a couple of small, then I do the next size up, and then the biggest size, and I just repeat that pattern throughout the whole length of this beaded garland. If you're not lucky enough to find these beads at your Dollar Tree yet, keep watching for them, but I always have a link in my description box for ones that I like to buy on Amazon, so just keep that in mind if you can't find those. I am just using a galvanized tag that I also got at Dollar Tree, and I will just loop over my twine and feed that little beaded garland through there so that way it can tie easily onto. You can kind of tie that on however you want. That's just how I chose to do it. And then all I'm going to do here is just take the end of my twine, feed it up through a couple of the beads, and cut it off so that way you don't have that little piece hanging out. You could always make a tassel for the other end of this, or instead of the tag, I decided just to tie mine off at the other end because it will be resting inside of the tiered tray and you won't see it. So I just tie a knot with that, and then I like to use a little bit of hot glue just to secure that knot. And I mean just ever such a small little daub of hot glue on there just to kind of make sure that knot is not going to come untied or anything in the future. Now I'm using some of these little rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree. These are some of their new Farmhouse line that they have, which are super cute. I'm just taking the word welcome and I just cut it down from that sheet because I can use all of those others and other projects that I have. And I like to just use a little wooden craft stick. These particular rub-on transfers go on very smooth and very easily. If you saw me use the foiled ones, I have not had luck with those, but these are very simple. You can see I just peel that back and it just comes right off and transfers that word welcome on there. And it's just something really cute to place in your tiered tray. I love to collect different types of coasters to use for DIY projects. I found these darling little Farmhouse coasters at Hobby Lobby. I'm just gluing a couple of the tumbling tower blocks onto the bottom and it makes a cute little stand for my tiered tray. This little welcome sign turns out super cute there, and here is everything put together. I love how this turns out. It is so cute. It is very Farmhouse, and it is a perfect way to use those wooden beads and those little wooden nesting boxes from Dollar Tree. This is another project that I absolutely love. It's one of my most favorites of all the projects that I have done from Dollar Tree. So I'm just taking some garden fencing and I am going to cut off the little stakes at the bottom and then also these little latches that come on the side that you would use to hook like another piece into it. And so that way we've got a little bit more of a flat surface area to work with on the edges. Now I am just taking some zip ties and I'm going to zip tie this together so that way it makes kind of a cylinder shape here. I'm going to make a bird cage using this. So I just want to make sure that this is really tight together. These little zip ties are from Dollar Tree. They're just found in the automotive section and you get a pack. There's like black ones and red ones. So they're super nice to have on hand and everything. So I am now taking some embroidery hoops and I am going to, the size that I needed was the outer ring of the embroidery hoop. So I'm just taking the metal pieces off. Now, if you wanted to keep this completely to Dollar Tree, you would just use some like Easter basket handles or like the pail, sand pail handles or something like that would probably work really well also. So I'm just going to hot glue these in kind of in a crisscross pattern to make the top rounded dome to the bird cage. This part did take a little bit of time because I wanted to make sure that it was all like put together really well. So there was a lot of gluing and then clamping and letting the glue dry, moving on to the next area. And then even with at the very top, I wanted to make sure that there was not like a big space or anything between all the embroidery hoops where they met. So I was gluing each layer there on as well and clamping that. So just beware that it took a little bit of time to do this, but it looks really nice in the end. Now I did get these little finials. This would be completely optional, but I found these at Hobby Lobby in a pack of like 3 or 4, and I'm just going to cut that little end piece off and then glue this on the top. Now I take this out to spray paint it. You could paint this any color that you wanted. I can think of so many different fun colors it would be to paint this, but I chose to do mine white because I wanted to put a plant in it and have that greenery pop against the white, but so fun to do so many other colors. So I just make sure I give a really good, takes a couple of coats to get the inner part of that garden fencing covered. And then I take it inside and after it's all dry, and I'm going to use my Emery board and I'm going to just kind of rough this up so that black from the garden fencing peeks through so it looks like it's been wrought iron that was painted that is now kind of wearing off, I guess. Now, since the embroidery hoop does not have that black color underneath, if I was to sand it, obviously it would just be the natural bamboo color that comes through. And so I am just using some elephant chalk paint. You could use mineral, whatever color chalk paint or paint you wanted to use that kind of had that darker tone to it to kind of make it look like it matches the garden fencing. But look at how cute this looks when it's all done. I think this turns out so cute. I love putting plants underneath this. This is one of my most favorites. I have this bucket from Dollar Tree and I think it's darling the way that it is, but when I got home, I realized that the handle was kind of coming off. So I just decided to take them both off because I didn't really know how to fix that really. So I kind of have an idea that I'm going to do for the handles, but first I'm going to take these little stickers that are just like these little raised bead stickers, and I'm going to run them around the top and the bottom. They're super easy to work with and you just kind of get your spacing there. They stick very, very well. So you kind of want to make sure when you stick them down that you know where you're sticking them. So they're a little difficult to kind of pull up once they're down, but you can see how easy they are. And if you have to, once you get to the other end and you need to take some off, you can just kind of pull them and they just rip apart. So fun. And what I'm going to do is we're going to paint over these, and so it will look good, I promise. Now, I think these buckets are so cute the way that they are, but you know, I'm here to kind of give you some inspiration to show you some different ways to decorate things. So I don't want you saying like, oh, the bucket was beautiful before, because I know it was, but this is kind of fun to make it match your decor a little bit more and make it more for you. Now, I'm just using my Crop-A-Dial tool, and I will link that in my description box down below to make those holes just a little bit bigger, because I'm going to use some rope to go through those after I get this all painted. So I just go through and I paint this. I actually did one coat of chalk paint here, and then I actually went out into my garage and spray painted it because those beads are a little difficult to get the chalk paint to stick to. Now, to give it a little detail so you can see that little raised area, I just take some elephant chalk paint, but you could use like mineral, or you could even use antiquing wax, and just lightly go over those beads, and that's just going to make them pop. They kind of blend in if you leave them all white and don't do this step here. It would be fine if you did, but this is the way you definitely notice them. And I like everything weathered and distressed. With what's left in my brush, I kind of just go over the middle portion of this cute little bucket here. I go up and down like the seam and everything, just give it kind of a little bit of an aged look, like it's had a plant in it and it's gotten a little bit dirty. And then I'm just going to tape off the end of my rope. This rope came from Dollar Tree, and I am just going to feed it through and tie it, and then I'll feed the other. You'll kind of see how I'm doing it here, and then just tie it off on both sides, just tying that very tight, and then I pull it against the pail there, the bucket, to make sure that it is tight, and then I will cut off the end. And you can see here that I've got that other side. I just decide my length, I cut it off and tie it, and I'll just do this on both sides to give it something cute, something a little bit different for the handle, especially since I had the broken handle on it. So this part would be completely optional, but I do like how it looks. It gives it a very farmhouse vibe. This plant is from IKEA. They fit perfectly in there. If you want them to sit up just a little bit, you put just a couple tumbling tower blocks in the base of it. But I think this turned out so cute, and it's perfect for every day. You could even embellish the front part of this if you wanted to. I kind of like the simplicity of it, leaving it like this. All right, so I got this wreath form at Hobby Lobby in their wood section. It was $15 at 50% off, so I got it for $7.50. These wood beads, I don't have to paint any ping pong balls. It's cheaper than Dollar Tree because when I made my ping pong ball wreath, I used 7 packages of the ping pong balls. I had to buy $1 for the wire wreath form, and I had to go out and buy special wire cutters to cut that down. And it took me like 2 hours to make, where I didn't have to do anything with this other than I just was at the craft store and saw it. So I just want you to know that you can buy items like this at the craft store. It's cheaper than Dollar Tree, a lot less headache than Dollar Tree, and in my opinion, much easier and looks better. I'm just using some spring florals that I got at the craft store. I buy them on sale. I have a bunch of them on hand. So the flowers would be the same price for either wreath that you make, because you can do the same floral on either wreath. Where I have the one in purple, I decided to do one with kind of a peachy and pinkish orange color. That way I can have 2 of these around my home. They're both beautiful wreaths. I just want you to know that Dollar Tree is not always the cheapest, so just keep that in mind. So I'm just using some zip ties to get these florals on because I don't have that bulky wire wreath thing that I'm using there. The zip ties work perfect on this, and I'll just cut the stems down to size using my new wire cutters that I got, so those will come in handy. And then I am just going to use some zip ties to get this put onto the front of the wreath. So one thing that I will do is when I flip this over, I'm going to bend it so it has kind of a curve to it before I use zip ties to put it on. And you'll be able to see here how many zip ties I have there. So I have several, but I'm just going over the wreath there. You're not going to see those because we're going to glue some big peony flowers on here. And so you're not going to see these at all. You can definitely use clear ones if you'd rather. The little red ones, like I say, the greenery and everything covers them. And if you see a little bit of it, it just kind of looks like a little color of the flower that's peeking out there. So just make sure that you want this, especially if you're going to put this like on your porch or somewhere outside, you want to make sure your florals are very, very secure, because if wind or anything, you know, like a door knocking it, you know, as it opens and closes, you want to make sure they're not going to fall off. So I just cut 3 peonies off of this. Is it peony or peonies? I say it both ways. I don't know. I've said it both ways twice now. So let me know how you say it. I don't know how you would tell me how you say it. But anyway, I am just gluing these on. So I cut 3 of them off of the stems, and I just find my center that I want. And then I glue 2 on the side there. I thought those were perfect color to match that little orange other flower that I had there. I can use my other peonies and other projects that I have. And then I just go through and make sure everything is turned up right. It looks good. Here's the end project. This literally took me less than about 40 minutes to make, where my other wreath took me several hours to make. And I don't have to worry about paint chipping off of the ping pong balls, the glue not adhering between them. It was so much simpler. And you guys, it was seriously less money. So I would be very interested to know down in the comments which one you did like better. And if you were to make one, which one you would choose to make. Are you guys on Instagram? If you are, I would love if you would come and find me. I am Farm Charm Chic over there. I'll leave a link down in my description box so you can easily find me. But come and see what I'm working on. I post there quite a bit. I like to show you things that I'm working on, or when I have videos ready. It's just another place to stay in touch. So if you do come find me, remember to send me a DM and say hi, because I do love meeting new friends. I love these cute little signs from Dollar Tree that say "This is us," and they are so darling the way they are, but they are such a great shape to make some fun things out of. So I'm going to make a little tiered table out of these. So I'm going to remove these little hangers from the back, and then what I'm going to do is take this dowel. It's not a dowel rod, it's poplar square is what it's called. I want to call it a dowel, but it's not round. Anyway, I buy this at Home Depot. It was about $2 and change, and I measure 1.5 inches for the bottom feet of my table. So I cut one using my little miter box saw here, and then I use the rest of them, the little 1.5 inch legs that I do, to measure the rest of them with, if that makes sense. So then you can see all 4 that I have there. And then I'm going to go ahead and use wood glue. And then where the wood glue has an open space where I didn't put it, I'm going to use some hot glue. This is giving it that temporary and long-term hold. And so I'm going to show how I do this on all 4 of these legs, because the next legs that I do for the next level of my table, I do not have any footage for, and I apologize for that. So watch close how I glue these in. And I'm going to do this exact same process, just using a different measurement for the next set of legs for the table. So for the second level of this table, I'm going to measure up on my ruler how high I want it to be. And then I do take that poplar square down on my floor with my miter box and saw, and I just cut those down to size, and I glue those in the same way I glued those bottom legs in. Then I'm taking some white chalk paint, and I'm painting the whole exterior or frame of this table and completely covering it all in white. I am then taking these 5-gallon paint stir sticks that you can purchase at Lowe's or Home Depot. They come in a package of 3 for just a couple of dollars. and I'm going to measure where I want my tabletop to be, and I do take those to my miter box and saw and cut those down. Then I'm just using these craft sticks to go on the back to hold them together, and I am using the combination of wood and hot glue. I want this thing to be very sturdy, and trust me guys, it is very sturdy. And you can see how that sits flush with the top. So those pieces on the top go horizontal, and I wanted to change it up, and on the bottom do vertical pieces of wood. So I'm taking the gallon paint stir sticks and I'm measuring where I need to cut all of those. And then I take those down onto the floor with my saw and miter box, and I cut those down to size. And you can see how I have to cut a couple of pieces, different lengths, like really short pieces to go around the legs of my table. So I'm showing you how the top fits in that bottom and how the bottom will fit in. So I'm going to take this main piece of the bottom where all of those pieces can fit into one. I don't have to fit these like puzzle pieces around the table at all, if this at all makes sense. Just kind of watch what I'm doing here. And I'm going to glue the craft stick onto these to hold them together. That way they will fit inside of the legs of the bottom part of the table. Then I stain the top and the bottom layer of the table here, the tabletops, with the antiquing wax, and I just go around making sure that I have each of the edges and everything, because those edges are visible, making sure that it is all completely covered. Okay, now we get to attach the tabletops to our little tiered table. And I use a combination of the hot glue and the wood glue. And you guys, this thing is so sturdy. It is not going anywhere. So I do the same thing with the bottom layer here, just the wood glue and the hot glue for stability. And I lay that inner layer of that one down, and then you guys remember that game Tetris where you'd fit the little pieces in? That's totally what this reminded me of, but I fit these little pieces in around the legs, and I get this last little piece glued on here. And then of course I do just let this dry a little bit. And then I'm gonna take my emery board and I go in and rough those edges up. It doesn't really rough them up, I guess. It gives them more of a dulled, not so harsh look on all of the corners. And then I do take my elephant chalk paint and I go in and give this a really good distressing, if you will. So I know if not everybody loves distressing, I do. I really feel like if you found this in a potting shed, it would be pretty roughed up, and so I really kind of wanted to mimic that rustic look. But guys, look at how cute this is. When I started styling this, I got giddy inside. I was so excited. I think this is going to be so fun to change up for the different seasons, and just kind of a different take on a tiered tray. So it's not such an obvious tiered tray, if that makes sense, but you would still just use those little miniatures on it to decorate. What do you think of this? Let me know down in the comments if you've seen anything like this or what you think of this. This DIY is one of my favorite that I've ever made. This is such a fun project. So I'm just using these 2 ironing board signs from Dollar Tree and also a plunger from Dollar Tree. So I just cut the handle on the plunger down and just cut it to whatever size you want. I did 12 inches. You can do it however big you want this little box to be. And then I'm just putting some E6000 and some hot glue at the top, and that's how I am affixing the plunger's handle to it. And when I did the other side, I did just kind of stack some paint cans up, as you saw there, so that way the back end of the sign kind of had something to rest on. Then I just take some painter sticks, and this is why I did 12 inches, it's because it's the exact length of the painter sticks, and I just line them up to make the base to the little box. It's like a toolbox planter that I'm making. And then I'm just using some craft sticks to glue on each side to make sure to give that base some stability and hold those painter sticks together. And then I do just use some wood glue on the edges of the painter sticks. And then I also go in with some hot glue and put a bead of hot glue right along where those connect to give it a little extra stability there. So there we go. Then I'm taking this little sign from Easter I had left over, and this is what I'm going to use to make the edges of my box. Now this sign, it's wide enough that I could cut it in half and do half on, one half on each side, but it is a little bit longer than 12 inches. So I do need to trim just a little bit off of the end of each side. So that way I can go ahead and affix this with some wood glue, and hot glue is what I use for the long-term and short-term hold. And then I just go ahead and place each side on there and let that wood glue dry thoroughly before I move on to the next step of painting it. I forgot to mention that I do go in and put a little bit of spackling in the holes there. This is from where the twine was to hang the sign. And so I do just go in and do this, wait for it to dry, and then I sand it down. This just gives it a nice cohesive flat look, and who wants to have holes in the side of their box, right? And then I take some painter sticks and I do cut them down because I don't want the little grooves on the painter sticks to show. And then, so I have to kind of make a joint or a seam in the middle. So I use hot glue to place each side down where these meet up. And then I will take some spackling again and put in the middle of this joint. That way you cannot see the seam. It does give it that seamless look, and that way, and then I do sand that down after that dries. And then I do take this out into my little spray painting studio, my little box. I don't know what you want to call this. This was just what our sink for our bathroom came in, this huge box, and it's the perfect place to spray paint because it doesn't go all over my garage or anything. So I do just give this a couple good coats of white spray paint. You can use whatever color you want to use for yours. I just happen to have a ton of white chalk spray paint on hand, so go figure. But that's what I ended up using. So just give this completely a good coat all over. Now I did cut out with my Cricut some letters to spell the word flowers, and this is what we're going to put on the side. And you can see I'm going to use this as a stencil, and I totally did it wrong. You have to use transfer paper when you do a stencil. I don't know why I forgot that. I obviously don't do this that much. So after I got my transfer paper on there, I just affixed this to the side of my little toolbox here. And then I am just going to use some regular black acrylic paint, and you can see how much I'm taking out of my sponge there. You just want to make sure that you're using a little bit when you're doing stenciling. This is what helps prevent any bleed through of having it bleed underneath your stencil letters. And then I just use an up and down motion, and I just tap all over the edge of each letter, up and down all the way around, and then tap to fill in the middle of the letters just to make sure that I'm getting that nice crisp lines on this. And then that so satisfying feeling of peeling this up. I had just a couple of little areas I did have to go in and touch up. Sometimes that happens. It's not a big deal. I do lift up the center of my O and my R to reveal those. And then you do, just like I said, go in and do any touch-ups that you might need to do or you feel you need to do. I am going to distress this so the touch-ups don't have to be a whole bunch. So I just go with my Emery board and run it over the top of this to give it a little bit of a faded, aged look. And then I do wipe it down with a baby wipe just to kind of get all that powder and stuff from the paint lifted up there. So then I go with my little sponge brush, and I am using just that black acrylic paint, and I'm going to give this a little bit of an enameled look, or not a little bit of an enameled look. It's going to look a lot like enamel. So I just go all the way around each of the edges, all over the entire box, and cover them with black. And then I also do go in a little areas to kind of give it that little bit of chipped enamel look. I love how this box turned out. This will be so fun to either put some little potted plants in. It's perfect for a patio. It's perfect to bring a little bit of greenery or floral inside your home. This, of course, I'm doing patio decor, so this will go outside on my patio or porch. But I just think this looks so cute, so versatile. And guys, it's made from a plunger and 2 ironing board signs. Like, how awesome is that? So for this cute little sign, I'm just taking a square piece of wood. You could do whatever shape. You can use a Dollar Tree sign. You can use a scrap piece of wood. And then I have these little teeny shapes that I got in a bag of different shapes at Hobby Lobby in their wood section. It was like $3.99, I think, for an entire bag. You get a ton of different shapes. So I'm just taking, they look like little petals to me, so I'm going to use them for some flowers. And I'm just giving the background a complete coat of paint. You can do this whatever color you would like. So I want this to have a really distressed look, so I dip my chip brush in some white chalk paint, and then I am just going very slowly up and down and lightly, just enough to kind of let that paint go on there. Once you do that, you do not want to go over it until the paint is completely dry, or it will smudge it more. So I just kind of go around the edges there, and then I use my heat tool and let this completely dry, and then I go back and do it in the opposite direction to give this a more weathered look. I just love the way this looks. You guys know I love distressing. I know that's a very personal preference, so of course you'll do this as much or as little as you want on your projects. And I even go in with a little bit of blue paint on my brush and go over if it got heavy with white in some areas. And then if I feel like I got a little too much blue, I go back with some white, back and forth until you get the desired texture that you want. I take 3 of these little wood petals and I paint 3 of them red, and I am just going to go around the edges with a little bit of white offset because I want there to be some dimension to these when I glue these together. They're going to be tulips. So I want these petals, when they're glued on top of one another, to show up really well. And then I do the same thing, although I do yellow because yellow and red tulips are 2 of my favorites, and I just love those colors. And I thought the primary colors would be really fun for this project. So I just stack them on top of each other to look like tulips and just use a little bit of hot glue on the edges that need to be glued together there. And I just eyeball it. You can kind of see how when you stack the 3 of them together, you can have a tulip that's more open or closer together, however you want to shape that. But I just loved these 3 shapes together being tulips. And so I have these 3 on my yellow are smaller than the red. So there was like a little contrast there. I did that mainly because I didn't have 3 more of the bigger ones that I used for the red. But I think the different sizes works really well. So again, just the same thing with the yellow. I glue that all together to be the same shape as the tulip. So now I am going to put these onto my background. So I just kind of layer them the way that I want them. And then I start with gluing the red one down first because I want to layer that yellow one on top. And so I just set them kind of, a little bit like tilted on there together. I thought they just looked so darling, those cute little tulips. Now you could easily leave this sign the way that it was. I did cut out some words that said fresh picked tulips to put on here. Again, you guys know I don't freehand anything on here, so if you can freehand or anything, that is great. Go ahead and do that if you would like. One trick that if you use vinyl on your projects, though, to make it look not so shiny, is to go over it and dry brush it with a little bit of paint, and that kind of dulls it down and helps it look distressed as well. I just thought that this was the epitome of spring. I love this. Tulips are some of my favorite spring flowers. I just love them, especially the yellow and the red. What do you guys think of this? I would love to know if you guys have a favorite spring flower that grows and what that was. Let me know down in the comments. I am so excited to show you this particular DIY. I think this turns out so fun. I'm going to make a little bird cage out of these emery boards and some spindles that I got on Amazon. So I do take just this little round wood platform that you can get at Hobby Lobby. I think I've seen them at Dollar Tree. I know you can get them at JoAnns. I happened to find mine at a yard sale. Somebody was selling a whole box of different shapes of these, so I snagged that up so I'd have these. And I just take some wood glue and I glue a 4-inch insert, the inner portion of an emery board ring, to that. And then I'm taking these, I believe they're 5-inch spindles that I got on Amazon. I will link them below in my description box for you so you can find them easily, along with the Emery, or not Emery boards. Oh my gosh, you guys, the embroidery hoops. So anyway, I just take each of these spindles and use a little bit of hot glue and then glue them all around, use a little bit more hot glue for some support. And then I take some wood glue on a little craft stick there to spread it onto each of the top of the spindles, and then I take another insert from an embroidery hoop and I clamp it. I use my little Dollar Tree clamps to clamp it on to give it a good, strong, secure hold. But before I do that, I am going to use a little bit of hot glue. That's just going to give it that little bit of temporary quick hold, so that way it will dry quickly and then the wood glue can finish drying. The next thing I do is take some embroidery hoops and kind of fit them in and mark where I need to cut each of these. That way I'm going to cut 3 of them to make the top to the bird cage. And so I will kind of fit them in and I'll draw a little bit of a line where I need to cut. That way I know how tall I want the top of the bird cage to be. I will tell you from my experience that if you plan on putting like a little teeny potted plant or something in this, then definitely do not glue these in now. Just kind of dry fit them in, and then when you'll go and spray paint this, and then you will put your plant in and then glue the top on, because it's very hard, depending on how much space you leave between the spindles, to get things in and out. I did learn this the hard way, so I'm just passing on my knowledge to you. And then I did clamp the top because I did put a little bit of wood glue there to help keep it all affixed together. But after I take off all of the clamps and everything, this is what it looks like. I'm loving it. I do have this little teeny finial that I bought in a pack of 2 or 3 from Hobby Lobby. So I just use a little bit of wood glue on that to get that glued right onto the top. I did spray paint it this kind of steel blue color. It was late at night when I spray painted it, so the footage was extremely dark, but you've all seen me spray paint before, so you know what that looks like. But I love how the color turned out. I will link the color of that down in the description box. But I take just a little bit of the plaster Waverly chalk paint and dry brush this on to give it that little bit of weathered look. And I love how these two look together. I love this color of the steel blue. And I think that that little bit of dry brushing on it really brings out the details of those spindles as you go around. And I do just make sure that I get the inside of all of them and everything. And of course, you'll do this step too before you glue the top on if you're going to put a plant down inside. And then after you finish this, you can go ahead and glue those in. But I just really think that this white on top of this blue, it just really sets it apart. I think it makes it look very high end. And like, I'm seriously so excited to use this in my decor. I think it looks so cute. Here's everything completed with the little plant inside of it. This is just one of the little plants that I got at IKEA. They come in like a set of 3. I think it looks so fun. This is just absolutely charming. I think it's gonna be so cute. What do you guys think of this one? Are you guys big into bird cages? I absolutely am loving them right now. I love these little buckets from Dollar Tree. They're super cute the way they are, but I'm going to give this one a little bit of a makeover. So I'm just going to use my heat tool to kind of loosen the glue where this twine is, to take this twine off. Now my intent was to put this twine back on when I was done, but I ended up doing something else there. So I'm just going to give this a coat of white paint here. You could easily tape that twine off if you don't want to take the trouble to remove it. I'm just going to use this buffalo check ribbon here. Now this is a little bit wider than that area that it needs to go on the bucket. So I'm just going to fold it in half, and rather than cut it and have a raw edge that could fray, I'm just going to use my flat iron to use kind of as an iron, and I'm just going to go on work in sections and go along the edge of the ribbon so that way it has a nice crease where I want it to be folded. Now I'm just going to take my aim and flame and I'm just going to burn the edge of this. It kind of melts the ribbon a little bit so it won't fray. And then I just use some hot glue to glue it down. When I get to this edge, I do fold it under so that way I don't have a raw edge there or anything. And I just use hot glue to secure that. These darling rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree are so cute, and I love this little one here that has like the little flower market sign on it. And so I'm just going to put this onto the front. So I just peel the backing off and then lay this down. And then this particular, I don't know if it's all of these rub-on transfers. I usually have a really good success rate with the rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree. But you just take like a wooden stick and you're just kind of rubbing over the areas. And this one took a little bit of time, maybe like 15 minutes or so for me to kind of work with it. And it still doesn't end up perfect like I would have liked, but just work slowly in sections. And I like to use the wood craft tool or your fingernail or something to kind of get it good. You can see where it kind of peeled up my paint. So I've used these a lot, and so I was just going off my past experience. So I don't know if I didn't let my paint dry enough or exactly what it was, but you can kind of see it was giving me a little bit of trouble. So just be patient. You can go in and lay it back down, and you can kind of see when I take it off here, the W wasn't so great. So I just go back in, and I'm just going to have to touch these little areas up with a little detail brush, which is fine. That's part of the fun of having it be like a country or farmhouse look, is that it doesn't have to be perfect. What I'm doing now is I'm just taking my sponge brush and I'm going around the edges to give this an enameled look. I really like the look of the two-tone of black and white together, especially with that ribbon. I do the same thing on the bottom here with this little ring, and then I do decide to go in and make a couple of like chipped areas. So just very selectively, you can get really out of hand with doing this sometimes and overdo it. So just pick a few areas selectively to kind of make look like chipped enamel. I thought it would be a really good way with this transfer to kind of hide any of the errors or make it look like they were intentional or it was just aged or something. So I just kind of very selectively go through and pick a couple of areas to look like the chipped enamel. I was pleasantly surprised with how much I liked this one with that stencil giving me as much trouble as it did, but I thought this turned out really cute. I think it's perfect for a little touch of farmhouse decor, and it fits one of those IKEA plants in it perfectly. Remodeled one of our bathrooms, and I kept the cupboard doors off of the vanity that we took out so I could do some DIYs with them. So I'm going to use that for my next project. And guys, I went to remove these hinges, and oh my gosh, I don't know what was going on with them, but I could not unscrew them for the life of me. I started to strip the screws. I tried to pry them out. Nothing worked. My husband came home and I was literally in the process of throwing these in the garbage. And he's like, wait, let me see what I can do. So it took him about a half an hour, but he was able to get them out for me. So I don't have the footage of that because I was literally just going to toss them out. So I'm taking some white chalk paint here and I'm going to go over it, and I got really heavy with it because at first I was going to coat the whole thing completely and then just go sand it down, but I really liked the way that the dry brushing kind of looked on it. So I go back in and kind of wipe it down where I was really heavy in the beginning, and then just kind of lightly go over and dry brush it all over to give it that little bit of white, very light painted look. And then I'm going to take my Emery board. Guys, I'm really liking using Emery boards for my distressing. So it's just a tip. I ordered them off Amazon and they are great. But I'm going to go on all of the raised edges and sand really good. This is going to give it a little bit of definition and texture. So of course, like I said earlier, I know distressing is very personal. So do you what you do you. Let's just put it that way. So I really wanted to lighten this up. And by lighten it up, I mean take the paint off a little bit. I really did want this to look very weathered for what I had in mind to do with it. So I'm going to wipe it down after I go through and make sure all that's off. But I do just go around all those edges really well. And I focus on the corners to make them look really kind of aged and sanded. My kids did a really good job beating these up in our bathroom already, so they were pretty rustic looking already. So now I'm going to make a wreath to use with this. So I'm going to use an embroidery hoop because that was the exact size that I needed. So I just had the outside part of the ring. So I hot glued it together. And then I had this, I don't know if it for sure is floral wire, but it was some kind of wire I got at Dollar Tree in their outdoor section for spring. So, and I have a combination of Dollar Tree succulents and succulents that I ordered on Amazon here. So my first couple I wire on really good to give a little bit of stability and give me a surface area to start gluing other pieces on. So after I wire those first couple pieces on, I glue the next one in, and then I go through with, these are from Dollar Tree that I'm using right here, and I trim them up and I'm just starting to style it. I just want the florals to be on the side of the wreath. So I just take my time, and then when I decide I want something, it's where I want it, I just add a little bit of hot glue. And then on some of the longer pieces that come out that curve around the embroidery hoop, I just make sure to glue those onto the hoop itself so that way they can stay in the shape that I want them. After I've got everything on, I put a whole bunch of hot glue on the back to hold it in place. Now I bought this part of a door knob at an antique store, and I thought this was the perfect project for it. So I'm going to go ahead and just hot glue it on, and the hot glue has held really well with this, guys. So I get it centered and put it on, and I'm just showing you that I can use different styles of wreath, how it looks with that little metal element there. I just love the way that it looks. So, and then I have the wreath that I made, and I thought I kind of don't like it positioned that way with this particular wreath. So I turned it to the side, and I love it this way. So I'm going to put on the 3M hooks on the back, but I put one in each different area. And so I can show you here that I'm putting it upside down from how you would normally put it on, and that's going to give you a place to, when you hang it with your ribbon, to hook it to on the back. I do this on my kitchen cabinets when I hang my wreaths at Christmas time on them. Now normally you would just tie your ribbon in a loop so it hooks onto the back. These happen to have these little teeny holes all through them, so it worked out perfect. So I went ahead and put that on there, and I think this looks so cute. This is my favorite of all that I did today. I'm so excited. I am going to go back in and paint the back. For some reason, I don't know why that didn't occur to me while I was doing it, but I will go back in and dry brush the back because I do want it displayed on this easel so you can see the back. So when you do this, make sure you paint the whole thing. But look at how cute all of that distressing looks. I'm so happy with that. You can definitely see the different raised areas of that I sanded to give it that good definition look. I think this wreath is so cute. I did put another 3M thing on the back so I can change the orientation of it and change the wreath out for different seasons as I have this up. So let me know what you guys think of this one. This was my favorite through the whole thing. I absolutely love this. What do you guys think? This little picket fence came from Dollar Tree, and it is so cute, and I was trying to come up with the perfect project to do with it, and I absolutely love how this turns out. So I do just paint all of the little picket fence here with some chalk paint, and I paint it white, and I'm careful just to get in between all of the little edges and all the little creases. And then I take this little chick that came from a package of like 6 or 8 or something from Dollar Tree, and I just paint it all yellow. And I thought it would be so cute to kind of put this little chick on my little picket fence. So I just take a tumbling tower block so I can prop that chick out just a little bit. That would be totally optional, but what I'm going to do is take some reindeer moss, and I am going to glue it all along the bottom of the picket fence so it looks like the chick is kind of standing in some grass against the fence. So I just use hot glue to place that down. Just be careful not to burn your fingers when you're doing this part, just because you know, it is moss that you're putting there, and if you push down too hard, that glue will seep up. So you can wear finger protectors or anything, but I just take little pieces of that and I just glue it all along the bottom there. I just want to let you guys know that I absolutely appreciate and love all of the support that you have given me. And if you do like what you're seeing in the video, remember to hit that like button. And if you're new here, welcome. Consider subscribing. I would love to have you join the Farm Charm Chic family. We love to have lots of fun and do fun DIYs here. So I do glue that little chick down, and then I take just a little bit more of that reindeer moss and kind of put it around the little feet there. And then you could even go as far as doing like a little orange on its little legs and like its beak or anything like that. I just kind of made it a little bit simple and kind of liked, I was afraid honestly I was going to mess it up. So I just kind of left it how it was. But I thought, and you could do this easily before you put that little chick down, but I just distressed the fence here. So I just went with a chip brush, and I was kind of heavy in places. I really wanted it to just kind of look like a little shabby, you know, like it was a little farm fence. And I took the end of a paintbrush in some black paint and made a little eye on our little chick there, and thought it would be so cute to do a little twine bow around its neck. So I do take a piece of one of the paint sticks and cut off, and I kind of sanded the edges to round it off there. I painted it with some antiquing wax, and then I cut out the word chirp to put on there. I thought that was so cute to have this little chick. He's just trying to tell us something, and all we can understand is chirp, but he's probably saying Happy Easter or something like that. Anyway, I thought he was just really cute. This is perfect for a little cute tiered tray, or again, just something to set on a shelf somewhere in your house. I just thought it was really unique and super cute. But what do you think about this little chick? I just recently found this jar at Dollar Tree, and I loved the raised detail in the glasswork. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. So I'm just going to remove that sticker from the bottom, and then I'm going to paint this jar. So I first start with a coat of Mod Podge, hoping that that would let the chalk paint I'm going to use adhere a little bit better, so it wouldn't wipe off quite so easily or chip soak quite so easily. Hopefully that makes sense. So I thought it was a great base to start with. So this is just your generic regular gloss Mod Podge, and I just cover the entire jar with this. I thought it would be really pretty to use a light green color. This is the color Celery in Waverly's chalk paint, but whatever color matches your decor, or whatever color that you have that you would want to use or easily accessible, go ahead and do that. I just really like this green color. It's not quite a faux jadeite color. It's not quite, I don't know how to describe it, but it's a little bit more pale than what a jadeite color, but it still ends up being really pretty. And with that raised detail on the jar, it's perfect to be able to go in with a different, like a distressing color, and have that detail pop. So you'll see me do that here in just a moment. I just take a little teeny chip brush or stencil brush, and I just lightly dip it in my white chalk paint. I kind of dab it on a paper towel to get the excess off, and then I just run that over the entire jar, over those raised areas, and it just adds that little extra bit of dimension. This would be really pretty if you painted this like a white or a light color like that, and then did like a little bit of antiquing wax over it. Would look really pretty, or even like a mineral color or something. Anything that's a contrasting color over that raised detail always makes a very pretty type of texture to it, and I just love that. So it came with this copper lid, which is very cute on it. You could put that on it and have it like that, but I found these little jar lids at Dollar Tree when I was there the other day, and they're meant for floral arrangement, so you can kind of put your floral picks in and it holds them so they don't all like clump to one side or anything. I thought this was a very brilliant idea, so I grabbed some of these. So I'm just taking some various florals that I have. Some of these are from Dollar Tree, some of them are just from my stash, and I just kind of cut different little sprigs off of these picks, and then just kind of separately place each one into those little holes that are provided in the top of that lid. Takes a minute to kind of play around with. I am by no means an arranger of flowers. So, I just kind of do what looks pleasing to my eye. So I just kind of takes a minute. You just kind of look at it as you're turning it around, or look at it from different angles. And if it looks like it needs something else, honestly, if I can do this, I feel like anybody can. But I just stick a little bit of this eucalyptus greenery in there too. I thought that added a nice little touch and a little bit of a different color of green in there. And I just went with it, and it turns out absolutely beautiful in my opinion. Here you can really see that detail in that jar. I absolutely love this, and it was super easy to do. What do you guys think of this? Dollar Tree has these wood signs, which are adorable, but not necessarily my style. And I'm also using one of these Dollar Tree calendar pages for this DIY. So I'm just cutting out that adorable truck on here, as well as the words fresh flowers. And I just want to make a stacked kind of wooden sign. Now I do end up using 3 of these little wood signs here, because you'll see in just a second what I decide, but I just thought this was so cute to have these on there. And I'm just cutting them down to size, and I'm just putting that truck there, and I'm looking at it thinking it might need another layer. So I take part of the white one that I cut off, and I am just going to use that. So I do end up using a total of 3 of the signs to make the 4 little layers, and I just cover them all completely in white paint. These are stacked together and glued. I want you to be able to tell that they are like wooden blocks here. So I'm going around all of the edges with some elephant chalk paint. You could use like antiquing wax or anything like burnt umber, anything like that. And I'm going to go over with a very, very dry brush to kind of add a little bit of texture to match the background of that calendar page, if that makes sense. Because that word where it says fresh flowers, it had a little bit of texture on the back. So I'm trying to match that so it blends in. And you guys know, if you've watched me at all, I love to use this purple glue stick. It holds wonderfully. You can see where you're putting it. It dries clear. I absolutely love this stuff. After I glue these down, I do go over them with a little bit of what's left of that elephant chalk paint in my brush and very lightly go over to a very, very dry amount. That way, if that even makes sense at all, it kind of helps distress it and it all matches the background to the piece of paper. Now I am just going to glue this truck on here and make sure that it is nice and centered. Be careful, I almost tore that truck right there, so I'm so glad that I didn't. But I just kind of make sure that it is on the 2 bottom blocks, that those flowers don't peek up to that top block, because I thought that would be, I just didn't like the look of that, and I didn't want to have to deal with cutting that, and you'll see what I mean by that. So I just kind of flatten it all out with a scraper there, and then I'm going in with like my little like X-Acto knife here, and I am slicing the truck because I want this to look like it's blocks stacked together, not just one cohesive design, if that makes sense. I mean, it will look, hopefully this makes sense to you how I'm doing this, but I even go through and sand a little bit on the edges here because I want it to look, you know, like it's 1, 2, 3, 4 stacked together. And so I'm just distressing around there, and I just think this looks so cute. I love going over this truck with the elephant chalk paint. I think that just brings it to life and makes this piece look so cute. I'm just using some Dollar Tree gel super glue to glue these together, and so I'm just going to take my like second piece here and glue on the bottom of it, and then I will put it, line that truck up, so it's super easy to do. You just line that up, and then I go on to the next layer to glue that together, just get that centered, and then I'll do that last layer. Now that super glue dries really quick, but to help it be nice and secure, I am just going to use some clamps to clamp this together. And then for the top of it, I'm just taking some sprigs of like little floral picks that I have. These are just little pieces off of other florals that I have already. And I make a little swag to go on the top of it here. Now that pipberry I got at Hobby Lobby, it comes in like a gigantic like roll of it that you get over by the ribbon section in the springtime, and it will last you all spring long, Easter long, forever. Like there's so much of it. And then I'm just taking these cute little yellow and pink flowers. These just came off of another Dollar Tree pick that I had. I just took a couple of them off to glue on there. And I thought this just like gave it a really cute look, and voila. I think this just turned out so cute. I love coming up with new ways to use the Dollar Tree calendar pages. They are so cute and it is so fun. What do you guys think of this one? One thing I love to do is I love to find little glass pieces like this at the thrift store. Each of these pieces cost $1 or less for each one of them. And they are so like, you know, that really detailed crystal. And I want to make some faux jadeite out of them. So I'm going to just clean them all up, remove the price tag, and wipe them all down. And then we're going to make them look like jadeite. The key to getting that faux jadeite look is to use this pistachio color by Krylon. It matches my jadeite almost perfectly. It is very, I'll show you a comparison in the end. I have a little picture of my faux jadeite with my real jadeite, and it blends in beautifully. So I just do a couple of light coats on each of these pieces. So I'll just remember these are not going to be food safe after you do this. So I feel like I just want to say that and get that out of the way. But these look so good, and it's just a couple of light coats to get that really thick color that's on there, so you can kind of see. Now this butter dish, I did the inside, and then I ended up going and doing the outside as well. Now the key, you could leave it like this, but what really sets this apart and helps it match jadeite is to add a little bit of a sheen to it. And so to do that, I'm just using this clear glaze that's by Krylon, and I give a couple coats of this on top of that. And this is going to seal that paint, obviously, but it's going to give that really nice crystal clear, like shiny look to it that jadeite has. And here's just kind of a look after this is all dried, what it looks like. The color is not the best here. This is just in my garage, but you can see there's kind of that shiny sheen on it. I've got a little stuck there, but look at, I just think this turned out so pretty. So what I'm going to do now is just take these back into my studio, and I'm just going to clean up the tops that go to like the salt and pepper shakers and the little other items there, and just put those back on. Now you don't have to just do this on glassware. You can get this jadeite look on anything that you can spray paint, really. I've done it on a few risers before. It looks really cute. This color that Kirkland has is such a good color. Here are my pieces all set up here with their little tops and everything on there. I think this looks beautiful. I've even seen some people do a copper color on the top fixtures to kind of give a different color tone, which would be beautiful as well. But I really love this. Now here are these pieces mixed in with a couple of the original jadeite pieces that I have. You can see that the color varies on those pieces, and I think it matches beautifully. I had so much fun making this particular DIY. I hope you guys like it. I am just starting with 5 of the medium-sized paint stir sticks that you get at Home Depot or Lowe's. They're the ones that come like 3 in a package for a couple of dollars. And I am just cutting them down enough that the handle indentation part is cut off. And then I'm taking 2 of the 5 sticks, as you can see there, and I'm going to cut them down just a little bit shorter. I'm making some fence posts, like some little fence slats, and so on the 3 that are going to be my fence slats, and then I have 2 crossbars, if that makes sense. It will in a minute here, I promise. But I am taking my little fence posts and I am cutting them at a 45-degree angle to make a point at the top. So I have like a little picket fence type thing. So I am just filing these down because they are very sharp, and I do want these to be very rustic looking. So you don't have to be perfect when you're getting the angles on the top or anything like that. Now I'm just taking some antiquing wax with a baby wipe, and I am just rubbing that over all 5 pieces so they all have this stained look to them. And now I am going to go in and very liberally brush some white paint, just white chalk paint on them. You could probably use acrylic, just dry brush anything white. I'm just wanting to get a very aged look. Now, I don't want these little crossbars to be completely straight. I want them to look kind of like they're a little bit crooked. I just want this to look like a dilapidated fence, like it's just been aged and old and sitting out forever. And so I kind of put them a little bit askew, and I'm just using some wood glue and hot glue. Hot glue would probably be sufficient. I just thought the wood glue would give a little bit of an extra bond. Now I have this little tag that I got at Dollar General, and I sprayed it with water. I used my heat tool. I could not get that little portion to come off there, the little paper that was on there. So I just decided to put some hot glue on the back of it and put some craft paper, or not the back of it, but on that part, it's going to be the back. And then I just cut that off and file it. So that gives the back a nice clean look rather than seeing like, you know, all of that ripped paper on there. So I just go in with some green paint. I believe that this is celery from Waverly's chalk paint, but whatever color is, you know, hitting your fancy for spring. I just thought the green color looked really cute. And then I just use my heat tool in between each layer to dry. I got that heat tool for Christmas and I love it. And then I am just putting some antiquing wax. I am brushing that on to make this little tag look aged as well, kind of, you know, like it was a piece of wood that was painted, you know, and then the paint's kind of chipping off. And I have this little paper from Hobby Lobby, and it has like these little almost seed packets is what it looks like, and I thought this would be really cute for spring. So I just cut this one out, and I am just going to go around the edges with the antiquing wax, and I lightly brush the top of it to make it look like it's kind of aged and matches rather than it's like not so stark white. And I just use some purple school glue, the glue stick glue, and get that on. And then I do go over it with Mod Podge just to make it so if I do like put this on my door or something, it's going to stand up to the elements, if that makes sense. This next part was so much fun for me. So I'm just taking some different florals that I had. I just used everything from my stash that I had. And I took a couple pieces that had wires like that you could bend around that bottom slat. You can kind of see how I did that. And I put those on first because all of my other flowers that I stick on there that have the stems, I slide them through, and then I will put a big glob of hot glue on here. You'll see in a minute, but I just kind of wanted them to have a little extra stability, and I thought that worked out perfect to kind of slide those in. And I tried to come up with some flowers that, you know, kind of represented spring or were just nice and, I don't know, felt like spring to me, spring colors. And then when I get to all of my things stuck in there, I put, here's my big glob of hot glue, but I have these cute little flowers that are from Dollar Tree, and I just go ahead and stick 3 of those on just to bring in that pop of color. It covers the little glue spot there, and it just really makes it vibrant, and I just feel like it really just makes it so pretty. So I did originally tie my little tag, the little tie on the top of it, so I untied it and tied it like it was hanging from the fence. I saw something similar to this on Pinterest for one of the stores for sale, and I want to say it was like $40 or something. So I made it for a lot less than $40, and it's personalized. I made it, but I am doing right here. I'm just taking a little bit of scrap wood to put under the tag to help bump it out, to keep it like 3-dimensional, so it doesn't kind of like fall in, if that makes sense. So you can kind of see how I did that. And then I just glue the very tips of it where it will be placed on the fence, so that way it won't hang. You could have it hang, but I wanted it more to be more secure. Plus, if I do hang it on my door, I don't want, if the wind blows, things like flopping around everywhere on it. So I just take some rope from Dollar Tree and I unravel it so I get one of the strands, and then I just tie off both ends and use some hot glue on each end, so that way it won't unravel or anything like that. And then I am just going to put a big strip of hot glue on each side of this and put the fence. I did go back in a couple of days later with my staple gun and did a couple of staples on each side just to help give this a little bit of stability. I'm sorry that I don't show that, but I love how this turns out. What do you guys think of this? I think it is so beautiful. It is perfect for spring, and I just love the little farmhouse feel to it. I don't know. I just love this one. Please let me know what you think of this down in the comments. This DIY is just using painter sticks from the hardware store. So I am taking 3 different painter sticks, and I am just kind of cutting them on an angle to make a carrot shape. So kind of like a long triangle shape here. I'm just eyeballing it, and I'm doing more of a squared off edge on these carrots. Now, poor men have poor ways. I'm using my handsaw to do this because I don't really know how to do this with a table saw, and it's such flimsy wood on those paint sticks that I'm not sure how well that would work. So I just do my best to kind of saw along those lines with my handsaw, and then I just cut it off on the bottom to make that squared edge. Now, you would not have to do a squared edge to it. You could do it all the way down to a point. You could do this with any type of scrap lumber that you had, or any way that you wanted to get these cut out. So I just do 3 of them, and I paint one in a gray. Well, no, it's more like a greenish gray, and then a darker green, and then an orange for the contrast on all 3. And then I'm just using some of this grass from Dollar Tree, and I am just tying some of it together with some twine. And then I kind of scrunch it up a little bit to give a little texture to it. And then I will just take that and glue that onto the end of each carrot, and that's what will give you your greenery. Now, to do some little ridges on the carrots, I just take my little foam brush here, and I just use a little bit of a contrasting color and go through and just do ridges at different lines and different heights all along each side of the carrot. And then I just make sure that whatever color I'm doing, the orange didn't pop as well, so I do go back in and doing a darker color on that one, but I just make sure that it contrasts on the carrots. Now, you can paint your carrots whatever color. If you want to do all orange, or you want to do different shades of orange or red or whatever. I just love the different types of carrots that we plant on our farm with all the different colors and everything, and so I love incorporating that when I do carrot DIYs. So that's completely a matter of personal preference. And then I'm just going to stack these 3 together, and I just put glue on that top one. I want the orange to be front and center, and so I'll just put a liberal amount of hot glue on the back and kind of just space that and place it there. And this is perfect to tuck into a tiered tray. It is a perfect shelf sitter. I just love how this turns out. I think it's super cute, and it really was so easy to do. Now, I just wrap some twine around all of them, so this looks like it's, you know, from the farmer's market, just a little bundle of carrots. I tie that off in the back and glue it down, and then I will just flip it over, put a little dot of glue on the front, and I just put just like a little shoestring bow that I made out of twine on the front there, so it looks like it's all nice and put together. And look at those ridges, how cute they look. I just think these are so fun. They look so cute, and again, it's just a perfect little pop of color in your decor. I have this little vase from Dollar Tree. It's so cute. It's a square shape. And I also have these little carrots that I got from Amazon. I'll leave a link to them down in my description box, but you get like 30 or more little carrots or something. They're so cute, but they do come with like a little hanging tag, almost like you could hang them from a garland or something. I tried just pulling it out, but that ripped the carrot, as you can see here. So I just decided to kind of snip that off as close as I could because I don't really need that little ribbon to hang it with. Basically, I just shove a bunch of Spanish moss down into the bottom of this vase to kind of give it a little bit of like, to prop these carrots up just a teeny bit. And I thought it kind of looked cute. It looks like a little roots maybe from the carrots growing around down there once you get all of these in. But I'm just lining all of these carrots up around the perimeter of that vase. I'm just showing you here different types of carrots that you could use to do this with, depending on where you get your carrots from. You may already have some in your decor. I got these little burlap carrots off of a garland that I got at Hobby Lobby that I took apart to use. They were super cute in there, and I just love the little raffia little carrot toppers on them. I take just a little bit of Spanish moss and I just tuck it in between the space of the carrots there to kind of fill in. This is going to help those carrots stay secure, and it's also just going to add a little bit into that negative space that was there, so that way it kind of fills in and it looks full and intentional. So now I'm just taking some jute twine and I just wrap it around this little bundle of carrots 3 or 4 times, and then I just tie it off with just a single little shoestring bow. That's just so cute that the carrots look all cute and tied together there, and that helps them stay together as well, and it looks like just a little bundle of carrots from the farmer's market. I think this turns out so cute. I love using carrots in my spring and Easter decor because it does bring such a pop of that vibrant orange, and I just love the different layers of this. I think it looks so cute. Perfect to tuck on a table or a shelf somewhere. What do you guys think of it? This project is perfect if you have a couple pieces of some scrap wood hanging around. You guys, if you've watched me for any time, know that we had a barn we tore down, and so we have a bunch of extra barn wood. So I am just using that for this particular DIY, but you could even use a couple of Dollar Tree signs for the background as well. I just wanted there to be a decent size to this, so I am just sandwiching these 2 pieces together here. I just put some wood glue down the center, and then I am just going to use my clamps to help that dry. I am not going to do any additional nails or support or anything. I have found when I've done this, it holds up great because it's very little use that it's going to get. It's just going to be setting on a shelf. Now on the edges where I cut my wood down, I'm just going in with some antiquing wax to cover that up, so that way it is not like the fresh wood there, that it all looks like it's all weathered and aged. I am going to use this cute little tag in the project, so I am just untying the twine because I want to put that back on in the end. And I'm just wanting to make this look like enamel, so I'm covering it completely in white chalk paint. I'm not putting anything on the back because it's going to be glued onto the project. You won't see that. But I go around the edges with some black paint. And I like to use my foam brush to do that because I feel like I get a really good precision with that, if that makes sense, going around the edges, because I can just kind of rub that on the edge. And then I want this to look like the enamel is chipped in areas. So I will go in on different areas, and I'll show you here. I kind of will like squish my sponge on the side there and let that black paint kind of seep on, and then just kind of pull that into the direction I want, and that kind of makes it look like chipped enamel. Now of course this is just if you want to have a look like this is how you do it. You could easily just leave it all white if you wanted to. And then you could use a rub-on transfer, you could do some freehand, whatever you wanted to put on this tag is up to you. I chose to cut out the word hello. I thought this looked so cute on here and very welcoming. And so on the little tag hanger there, I go in with a little teeny tiny brush, you can see, and just kind of give that a little bit of the enamel look too. So now back to our wood background. Once that dries, I am taking this little piece of like coconut, I don't know, it's like what you put in the bottom of pots, and I cut it in half. So I'm just using half of it. And then I have these florals. The one came from Dollar Tree, the purple flowers. The other one I've had in my stash for literally like years. I don't even know where I got it from. But I'm taking this little plant liner and I am going to staple it onto my wood piece, and to kind of look like it's like a little planter pot there. You can kind of see the look I'm going for here. And then I even have to, after I staple it, I want it to be very flat against the wood. So I will go with some hot glue on the edges and glue that down completely. And then I'll just kind of press that down until it dries there. And then I have this bucket of paint, and that's what I end up using to make sure it dries securely. This is such a fun project because you can customize it with the different florals that you wanted to use. I just love this little grass that I have. And again, I wish I knew where I picked this up. I want to say I think I might have got it at the at-home store. I've literally had it for like maybe 10 or more years. It's been forever. And so I'm just layering that in there. And then the purple flowers I thought would look so cute to have kind of hanging out. And I set it up so I can kind of position them where I want them because I just thought that would look so cute. And I go in with my staple gun and I staple it all down against the wood so that way it's nice and secure in there. So that's how I get it to stay. And then I put a lot of hot glue. You can see I'm just putting tons and tons on the inside there. And because I want that plant liner, the little pot liner, to be nice and flat. And so I put my paint on there to make sure that dries completely flat there. And then I will just kind of come in here and fix everything once it's dry to make sure everything's positioned how I want it to look. So hopefully this is making sense to you. Now I want to put this cute little tag on the front because it does kind of break up that little pot liner there. And so I just put the little tie back on, and then I'm going to staple this on as well. You'll see how I do that. So I just tie this off completely before I staple it down, and I'm just going to position it and then kind of flip it up. You can kind of watch how I do this here. And then I just kind of, and I'm sorry that I get a lot of my arm in the shot there, just kind of staple that down and flip it back over. And then I just put a lot of hot glue on the back of it and just hold that down so it's just glued completely into place. And then I go in and this little coconut husk stuff that this is made out of, I just kind of fluff it up to kind of give it a little bit of texture. I just absolutely love how this turns out. I think this is so cute. I love the floral choice that I made, but that's definitely something that you could change to your liking. I want to know what you guys think of this if you like it. I just think that this is so beautiful and I can't wait to use this. I got this cute little sign blank at Hobby Lobby. You can see it was $3.50, but I bought it when the metal items were 50% off. Now I am jumping on the Chalk Couture bandwagon and we are going to try a Chalk Couture stencil. I have only tried one other little teeny tiny like Chalk Couture tag. So this is kind of like one of my first like on my own projects. So I am just taking my little fuzzy mat here and you're going to lay the stencil down on it a couple of times. I'm not even sure I was doing it on the right side of the mat, but it seemed to be doing what it needed to do. But you do this a couple times to kind of make the adhesive on the back not super sticky because you do want to be able to lift this off of your surface. So I am just using the Welcome to Our Nest portion of this stencil. So I just line that up. It lines up perfectly with the sides of my little sign. And then I take my black chalk paste and I am just spreading it with my little tool there. And I am just going to cover this completely. This is very much like screen printing. If you've ever done graphics or seen anything like that, the same concept here. I am just gliding that paste over where all of the openings are of my saying there, the Welcome to Our Nest. And then moment of truth, I go to peel this up and I'm honestly shocked and amazed at how wonderful that works. I mean, look at that. It was so easy. I did speed this up to double time, but other than that, like that's the amount of time it took me to do that. I just love how that turned out. If you do have questions about Chalk Couture or anything, just leave me a message or find me on Instagram, send me a DM or something, and I'll get back to you to get you some more information. But I am just taking now some antiquing wax and I'm going around the edge of the sign to kind of age this. And then after I go around all of the edges and I focus on like my little holes where the twine will tie, I kind of go through the whole sign to kind of just barely buff in some of that antiquing wax to kind of give it a really aged look. I thought the Welcome to Our Nest was a very spring type of saying. I thought it was super cute. I love that idea that this is just, you know, welcome to our home. Just kind of a fun little take on that. I feel that this sign is going to need something more than just putting that little twine hanger back on it. So I decide to make a scrap bow. Now you can customize this to be whatever colors you want. I know necessarily like these more natural, the blacks and the twine and everything are maybe not the most spring type colors. However, this is kind of a neutral decor that does match my house, but you could make this whatever color you wanted. But I'm just cutting about 6 inches off of each of these different ribbons. I even stick a little bit of jute twine in there there, just anything I can think of. It's called a scrap bow. So you just kind of put scraps of whatever you have in there. And then after I kind of lay these all just at different angles, I just take some twine, I turn it over and I tie that twine off in the back, tie it really tight, and that's what's going to scrunch all of your little scraps together. And then to kind of finish it off, I just take one of the ribbons that I used in the bow itself, and I just kind of glue it around the back and wrap it around to the front to make the little center to the bow. Now I just go ahead and tie on that little jute twine hanger back on the sign so that way I can hang it. And then I am going to glue the bow on in the corner. I did take the time with the bow to trim all of the ends so they had a nice angle to them, or a dovetail, and just kind of make the strips of your ribbon kind of match the size of your sign, if that makes sense. And then I did decide it does need a little bit of greenery to kind of freshen it up. So I'm just taking a couple of sprigs. I believe this is like eucalyptus is what this artificial plant is. It's one of the ones from IKEA that's like $4 or $5. So I just took a couple sprigs off of that and just glue one in each side of the bow there, kind of sticking out. I feel that adds a little bit of freshness, makes it look a little bit more spring-like, I think. But I love how this turned out. That chalk couture was so slick and so easy. It was so simple. And I just think for just a couple of minutes, like, this is such an adorable sign. Have you guys seen these all over the place? I feel like I have. They are called a sugar mold, and I've seen a lot of people put candles in them and things. I found some at antique stores, at flea markets, vintage market days, all sorts of different places. I found this one on Amazon, and I will leave a link down in my description box, but I love doing different things with them. So I'm just taking a little bit of Spanish moss, and I'm just going to stick that down into each one of them. This is just going to kind of fill up that space in the bottom, and I thought the Spanish moss would look really, really cute. Now, if you've purchased any of these with candles in them before and you use the candles, you can definitely, there's lots of techniques to get the wax out so you can use them to decorate with. I'm just going to take some carrots, and I'm just showing you that it doesn't matter where you get your carrots or what kind you use, or if they're homemade. Those are from Dollar Tree. Hobby Lobby has some cute carrots. All the craft stores do, really. Or if you just have some that you've used in your decor before. But however you get your carrots, you're just going to take one for each of these little molds here, and you're just going to stick them in. I kind of like to angle them a little bit different so they're not straight up and down. That's just a matter of personal preference. But I'm just going to take a little bit of reindeer moss, and I'm just going to tuck that in around. That adds just a little bit of a greenery color there. And so that way it just kind of adds a little different element. You do have the option of gluing all of this in to have it stay in there, so that way it will be more permanent. But I want to be able to change mine out, so I did not glue any of mine in. It's just all resting in there. I have this cute little fresh carrot sign that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. I have seen little tiered tray signs like this anywhere, so if you had a cute little one for spring or different holidays, it would be fun to use. The sugar molds are naturally like tapered at the bottom of it, and so I wanted it to kind of sit flat rather than be at an angle, so I glue a tumbling tower onto the block. And then I had a little gouge in the frame, so I just used a Sharpie marker, and I also used a Sharpie around the edges of the tumbling tower block, so you wouldn't be able to see the light color of it. It would just look black. And I just use a minimal amount of glue to make sure that that stays. But I'll also be able to remove it when I do something else. But look at how cute this turned out. I love this. I am so excited to think of different things for different holidays to do with this. If you happen to see these in your antique shopping or flea market or anything, definitely pick one up. I will leave that link down in my description box to the ones on Amazon. I just think they are so cute, and I'm going to have so much fun decorating with it. This is more of a hack than a DIY, but I love this and I feel like it's worth sharing. So I shop Hobby Lobby for their clearance, and I got this sign for like $1.50, I think it says there, which, you know, is 25 cents more than Dollar Tree now. But it's beautiful. It's framed and it's a decent size, and I love it. I'm just taking a little bit of paint to paint over the words on this because I am going to put one of the Dollar Tree wall stickers on here, and I just don't want those words to show through. I did decide as I was doing this that I thought I better color all of the design on the back there or on the sign there so it wouldn't show through. So I do just go over and cover all of that pink ombre that was on there. And then I just dry it with my heat tool, make sure that it is all nice and dry. And then these stickers are 2 parts. So they're like split down the middle. So I just peel the first one off and I center it and kind of eyeball it. I'm big on eyeballing everything. And I just rub it down once I know that I've got it where I need it to be. And then I just match up this other side, and then you'll just kind of make sure that that seam is very close, you know, and matched up there. I even get my brayer out and roll over it that way. I have done this hack so many times, like especially for my kids' rooms, to get, like, they love the stickers at Dollar Tree, and I'm like, I don't love to stick them on my wall. I'm just fixing the back here so that paper lays down flat on the back. But look at how beautiful this is. I mean, it's kind of custom, but Hobby Lobby has some great clearance items, and sometimes they're not necessarily what you would hang in your home, but this way you can definitely customize it. It's so simple and so easy. I found this candle holder pedestal at the thrift store, and I thought it would be a really, really good piece to have. So I kind of thought about what I wanted to, like, how I wanted to paint it or what finish I wanted to give it. So I ultimately decided to cover it in complete white chalk paint all over. So it takes about 2 or 3 coats to completely cover it. Now this is glass, it's not metal or anything. So it's not something that I'm going to like put outside or anything, but I wanted it to look kind of garden inspired, like maybe it was like a piece of wrought iron that had been painted and then was like the wrought iron was starting to show through. So I'm just going in with like some elephant or some dark gray chalk paint to distress this, and it has a little bit of detail on the very top, like the lip around where the candle would sit, that really picked up that detail really well. And then all of the little ridges that are on the base of the candle holder, it really picked up that distressing well. And so I just kind of went in. You can always add more, so go with a little bit and keep adding. And then you can also add some white paint back over the distressing if you feel like you've added too much to tone it down if you want to. I really wanted to make a moss ball to sit on top of this pedestal, and in the floral accents section of my craft store, I found this little like wicker ball almost, and I bought this garland. It was on sale for 50% off, so it was $7.50. If I tried to think of some different ways I could actually make this, like get a form for this moss ball. This was the best that I could come up with for the price. So if you had something on hand already or came up with something else to use as your base, that would work too. But what I'm doing is I just zip tie the end of this garland onto what is going to be the base of my moss ball. And then I wrap it all the way around one way, turn it around and wrap it all the way the other way. So that way it's wrapped around twice and it is like crisscrossing, if that it all makes sense. So it goes like north to south and east to west. Once I zip tie both ends down to where the base of my moss ball is, I am just breaking apart all of these little teeny vines that are coming off and all these little stems, and I am just tucking them into the grapevine on the wicker or the wire, whatever. It's several different elements that are there. So I'm just tucking it in as I go around to make sure that this is completely covered. Now I just picked a greenery, like a garland that had a lot of little leaves like this that would easily tuck in. So if you're going to recreate this, you're just going to look for something that has a lot of long stems that you can stretch around. So you can kind of see how that went all the way around there. Now I'm just taking some jute twine and I'm just going to tie it on the base there. And then I'm going to wrap this around several different ways, directions, everything to hold that moss down. And it also looks like this moss was, you know, that's what's holding it down onto the ball, and that was the look that I'm going for. And I go around maybe like 15 times or more. I mean, it's quite a few times that I go around. And if there's any pieces that are really sticking out that didn't get tucked in, I make sure that the twine is tucking those in as well. You can kind of see, I'll go back over and make sure that that goes on those. And once I get this as wrapped as many times as I want, I'll just cut it off and I'll return back to that place I designated as the bottom of my moss ball, and I will just tie it off in a knot there. And then I go back through, and if there's pieces that need to be tucked in under the twine, I do that. Or if I want to pull them out, because I want it to kind of have like a fluffy feel, I guess would be the best way to describe it. So I go through and you can kind of see me here, I'll pick some out. So that way the twine is a little bit buried inside of there, if that it all makes sense. This is the look once it's finished. I love how this turns out. I have seen these moss balls go for like way more than I paid. I absolutely love how this turns out, and I feel like it has such a good spring and garden vibe. I would definitely love to hear your thoughts on this one down in the comments. For this project, I'm using one of these large Dollar Tree tag signs that were in at Christmas time. I think they have them for all holidays though. I'm just cutting some craft paper down to size because I'm going to put this on the front of the sign, which is going to become the back of my sign. So I'm just going to cover up this glitter and everything with the craft paper so I don't have to worry about sanding that off or painting or anything. Now I just put some hot glue around the edges and then I just firmly press down to make sure that that is nice and secure. After I've done all of the edges, I just trim that excess off and then file the edges so it's a nice crisp look. Now I am taking a page out of one of the Dollar Tree calendars. The nice part about this is you could use this for any holiday with any of the pages. I do just give this sign a coat of white paint because you will see a little bit of the excess of the sign sticking out. So I paint over the whole sign so it's consistent in color. So after I get that all done, I'm just going to take my regular purple glue stick. You guys know I love this stuff. I have yet to have a problem with any project that I've used it on, so I just keep using it because it works. I very liberally put this on, and you can see that purple color does start to fade almost immediately as you put it on. And I just make sure I get where the edges and everything go. And if you get a little outside of the edge, it's okay because it's going to dry clear, and you can wipe it with a baby wipe to get it off if you can still see any of like the sheen or anything. I just use my Mod Podge roller there to make sure that it is all nice and smooth as I can anyway. I mean, it is paper, so it will kind of wrinkle a little bit. It's a thinner paper on those calendars. And then I'm just going to make some little faux wood lines to kind of match the paper there. Now I know this paint doesn't match the paper exactly, so you could be more exact if you want. I am going to put some florals at the top, so I didn't really worry about it, but I just color in some faux wood grain, so if you do see it, it kind of blends. And I just take a little bit of white paint on my brush and gently go over those lines to make them fade a little bit, and it really does blend extremely well. So I'm just putting a little twine hanger at the top of my little tag here, and I decided it would be really cute to have some beads on the hanger. So I just use a little bit of painter's tape on the end, and I just go ahead and string beads on each side and then tie it off in the middle. So using various florals that I have, I am just going to make a little swag to go on the top of this. I just use what looks springy and make sure that it's even on both sides, and then I just tie it off in the middle with a little bit of jute twine. I have this darling pipberry that I got at Hobby Lobby in there. It was actually in their ribbon section, so I bought it when the ribbon was on sale, but I thought it would be cute in there, so I just slide the little wire into the middle there. I thought that just added kind of a fun little textural element there. And I did make a finger bow just by wrapping jute twine around my finger maybe like 10 to 15 times and then tying it off in the middle. So I just glue that in the middle of my little swag there, and then I'm just going to glue this onto the top of the sign. I do want my sign to look faded, so I dry brushed some white paint over the calendar page there. You can see how fun that looks and the good texture. This is completely optional. I just go around the edge with some elephant chalk paint and then go over the picture a little bit too, just to have that distressed look because I love that. Here is the finished product, you guys. What do you guys think of this? I decided to hang it up here to show you with the little beaded hanger on there. I think this turned out so cute and such a fun idea to do with those dollar store calendar pages. I happened to be at Dollar Tree one day when they were getting a shipment of these 3D orbs in. They were kind of stocking them. So I grabbed one thinking, oh, I'll figure something to do with this. And honestly, I wish that I had grabbed more because I have not seen them since then. And that was like all the way back in February. So I just put the orb together, and I'm taking this candlestick from Dollar Tree, and I'm just using a massive amount of hot glue to glue this orb to this candlestick. So you're going to hold it for a while, I guess is what I'm saying. And then I wanted to have some type of little platform there in case you wanted to stick like a plant is what I put in there, a candle, something. So I just used one of my canning jar lids and glued that in there because I am going to spray paint this and do some other things with it, you'll see. And so you won't be able to tell that that's what it is. So I'm just using some matte spray paint, and I had a little wood finial that I did glue on the very top. And then I am going around to just give this a really rough up finish, and then I'm just staining some beads here because there is a gap between the pillar, the candle pillar, and the little jar lid. So I thought it would be a perfect area to kind of tuck in some beads. To give this a really roughed up, rusted, old, aged look, I am just using a bunch of different colors of paint, and I'm using like a garbage sack, or not a garbage sack, but we'll sometimes use it as a garbage sack, but a grocery sack that I had. And I am just using some of the truffle paint, some elephant chalk paint, and I am just going over this to make it look like it's kind of wrought iron that has sat out in your garden for a long, long time and just kind of started to age and rust. I decide that I want it to look even more aged, so I am taking some baking soda, a little bit of orange paint, and then some more of the truffle color of Waverly, but really just any brown that you have would do, or even like a maroon. And I just mix kind of a couple of those paint colors together with some baking soda, and then just lightly go around and just kind of pushing it on with my paintbrush to kind of give it a little bit more. You can kind of see how it really does just kind of look rusted and aged. I just really like how it came out, and I love using the baking soda because when things kind of rust and they bubble up a little bit, they really do have that texture, and the baking soda really does kind of help give it that realistic look. Now I'm just going ahead and touching up that bottom since it kind of was the shiny color of the white. I wanted it to kind of be more matte, so I did cover that with some chalk paint is what I did there. So I'm just taking a pot right there that I had, and I just painted it white and kind of roughed it up. That's what my plant is going to go in. And then I just used a little bit of elephant chalk paint to kind of give a little bit of an aged look to the base of it. And now I'm just going to take these beads and hot glue them in all the way around that little gap that is between my jar lid and the candle pillar. I do take just a little bit of what dry paint is left in my brush there and kind of brush it over the beads and everything to kind of brighten them up a bit and make it look like one cohesive piece. And there is my little pot that I did with a little bit of white paint and then a little bit of the elephant chalk paint, and I just stuck a cute little plant in it. This turned out so cute, and I have used this in my house all year long, and I've gotten so many compliments on it. And I do kind of change the plant up a little bit for the different seasons and everything, but I would love to know down in the comments what you guys think of this. If you guys are a fan of this, if you like this, I would love to know. I love visiting the little metal aisle at the craft store because I love these little things that they have. And when they run like a 50% off sale, these metal things are so cheap. I think I paid $1.50 for this little watering can, and it's so cute. And all I'm going to do is just take a little bit of ribbon I got from Dollar Tree. This is like that burlap ribbon. And I'm just going to glue a little bit around it to kind of give a little detail. And then I make a little teeny tiny shoestring bow just out of some jute twine to put on there, so it just looks like that little bow was just nice and tied up on there. And then I'm just going to get some florals to put in this. I love scrolling through Instagram and Etsy and Pinterest and getting ideas on items for tiered trays, and I thought a watering can would be perfect for a garden and spring themed tiered tray. And it's always fun to see the different pieces, but I like coming up with a more economical way to do them for my tiered tray. I think this little watering can here costs less than $3 to do, and I've seen some that have been way more that have been completed. And so it just, it's kind of fun to create your own thing. So I just encourage you to kind of think outside of the box and look down different aisles at the craft store than the actual completed items and see if you can do it for less. I mean, this did not take a lot of time, and I just think it turns out darling. I'm just taking some little florals that I had. I bought this little lily, I think it's Lily of the Valley. I use it in another DIY on my tiered tray, but I really love it. And I have just some other little sprigs from Dollar Tree that I just throw in there. And I just think this is so cute. It's perfect for a tiered tray or like a little vignette. And of course, it's like spring garden, right? When I think of a spring setting or doing like a little spring vignette, a birdhouse always comes to mind. So I thought that this tiered tray would not be complete without doing some type of birdhouse. I just picked this particular birdhouse up at JoAnns. I have seen them at so many different places, but I have a little technique that I'm wanting to try out or kind of see if this works. So you'll have to watch and see if it's something that you would try. So I decide I'm going to paint the main portion of this little birdhouse black. So I go around on all four walls and paint it black. I also stick my brush kind of inside the bird hole and kind of paint where you'd be able to see black so it looks dark when you look into the birdhouse. And then I decide I want to do kind of a rust finish for the roof. I really just kind of wanted this to have a look like it had been left out. It had like a little tin roof and is aged over the years and gotten rusted. So for the rust color that I mix, I always use a brown and a dark like maroon. This is like Waverly's Merlot color, and then a bright orange and a bright yellow. And I just kind of go back and forth, adding a little bit at a time until I get like the desired color I want. And then I add some baking soda to give it texture. And then I just paint this all over the roof. And as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking it looks more just like brown paint. I'm thinking some copper colored paint might have been a little bit better. When I do my rust, I'm typically doing it as like an accent on a piece. And so to do the whole roof in it, I don't know that I particularly liked it, but I do something to it here in a minute, which I end up really liking. So while I'm letting the roof dry, I am now going over the black paint with white. So that black paint is completely dry, and I'm going to go over the entire walls of the birdhouse with white. I want to try a distressing technique where you put like some packing tape or transfer tape or something and peel off that white paint to reveal the black paint. I just wanted it to look extremely aged, and so I was just trying a new technique, and you'll have to see if you like it or if I don't know that I quite got the effect that I wanted. But here I'm just going to put on some of that transfer tape, and you can see it pulls up that paint and there is the black showing underneath. So I feel like it was pretty aged. I maybe could have like sanded it a little bit more or something to get more of an effect. I don't know that I really got, like I ended up having to kind of dull the black down a little bit because it just looked a little harsh. I'm not sure. I mean, it ends up looking really cute. But for the roof, or no, now I'm actually doing, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm actually just taking some antiquing wax with a little tiny brush to paint the platform it's on so it looks like this birdhouse is on wood. And this is when I decide I really need to do something to brighten up that roof. So I'm just taking some gold metallic paint because I don't have copper, and I just dabbed a little on my baby wipe and kind of dabbed it off so it's pretty kind of like dry brushing almost, but I just kind of rubbed that in on all the edges and then on all the little flat areas, just kind of to brighten that up a bit and give it a little sheen so it did look like maybe it was a coppery color. Hopefully that makes sense. You guys are going to have to let me know what you think of this birdhouse. It was kind of fun trying a new technique. I'm not sure that I would try it again. Maybe I need to perfect it a little bit or something. I think dry brushing gets a little bit of a better distress on it for my taste, but it does turn out pretty cute, and it's going to look so cute on our tiered tray. Have you guys seen these darling little wood and glass votive planters at Dollar Tree? I was so blown away when I saw these. They look so high end. I love them. I did not want to change it very much. It's a perfect DIY just to kind of show you how I end up using this. So I have some rocks that I also got at Dollar Tree, but you could probably even find those in your yard too. But I'm just going to pick some of the smaller ones out of here and just gently place them in so I don't break the glass. And I do fill it up about 3/4 of the way. And then I have a bunch of different succulents that I've been picking up here and there as I've seen it at Dollar Tree. So I kind of just play around with some different ones, sticking them in there, seeing which ones I like best, kind of the feel that I'm going for. I had so much fun doing this just to kind of see all the different things. I wish I had picked up a bunch more of these because I think they're absolutely darling. But here's a couple succulents that I left in there for my tiered tray. I can easily change them out. They're not going to die, which is a plus for me, but I just think this looks so high end and it's so cute. For this project, I am using some scrapbook paper I have that looks like little seed packets, as well as this little wooden block that I have from Dollar Tree. This would also be a perfect project that you could do with the little squares on the back of the Dollar Tree calendar. These little seed packets just have a different side. They're a little bit bigger, and so I like the size a little bit more, but if you don't have this exact scrap paper, I'm just giving you an idea of something else you can use and another idea for those Dollar Tree calendars. So now I'm just going to paint the background of this really mossy green color. I just love this color for spring this year, and I just go around the whole thing and paint all the sides and everything. And then I'm just using my favorite purple glue stick. Guys, I buy this stuff when it goes on clearance at back to school. I literally buy it by the dozens. I love this glue. It's perfect for crafting. So after I get a very liberal amount of the purple glue on there, I am just going to place this down, and then I just kind of like lay it out with my fingers a little bit there, and then I am going to get my little brayer and just kind of roll this all over it, make sure that it is nice and adhered there. And then you can also go over it with some Mod Podge, that way it will protect it. And then of course to distress things, because that's what I like to do here, I go around all of the edges with a little bit of antiquing wax, just very little amount on the little chip brush there, which came from Dollar Tree. tree. And then after I go around all of the edges, I make sure there's very little in my brush. I kind of go over those edges first to kind of even empty my brush out more. And then I go over the front of this seed packet to kind of make it have a little bit more of an aged look as well. And then I took a beaded garland that I already had and just tied onto the end of this. I love the little look of beads kind of draping down from a tiered tray, so I thought that would be perfect. It's not one that I made, it's just one that I had already and just tied it onto the end of it. But I think this turns out super cute. I'm excited to see what it looks like on our tiered tray. I love these little tobacco baskets that you can get at Hobby Lobby. I've also seen variations of them at JoAnns, so I think a lot of different craft stores or home decor stores probably have them. I know the ones at Hobby Lobby are right around $4, and they're in the Easter department, so when the Easter goes on sale, you can usually get them from like 30, 40, 50% off, which makes them even less. They are great for tiered trays though. They are perfect to add by themselves plain on your tiered tray to kind of be like filler, but I love adding things to the middle of them. You can use like foam core board and put quotes or words on the inside of them. On this one, I am taking this cute little, I think it's Lily of the Valley. It's just a cute little plant that I found at Hobby Lobby. It was $1 or $2 in the floral accent section. And I just cut the long stem off, and I'm just going to glue it to the background. I make a cute little shoestring bow just using some twine just to put on the end so it looks like it's just like a fresh picked little bouquet of flowers that's put there. And when I glue this to the tobacco basket, I use a very minimal amount of glue, enough that it will hold it, but enough that if I want to change this out for a different season or I want to put something else on the back of this basket, I can easily remove that, and then I have the basket to use for other projects. I also put a little bit, that leaf was kind of going a little wonky there, so I put just a little bit of glue under that to hold it into place. I think this is so spring garden looking. I love this. I think that I just like the earthy tones of that tobacco basket, and I love the beauty and the white and the green of that floral. I think this is going to be so cute on our tiered tray. I just love how this DIY turns out, and I have to admit that I got this idea from Junker Necker DIY in our 5 Under 5 challenge that I do, and she did this video this week in it. They're this DIY, and I loved the idea, and so I have to give her credit. So her link to her video will be down in my description box as well. But she had bought these little candles at Dollar Tree as well, and just melted the wax and put the candles down in the wax. So when the wax dries, the flowers are held into place, and I thought that was absolutely genius, and so I thought I would try. So I just used my heat tool to kind of soften up that wax a little bit so I could stick these little daffodils down into there, and I just think it was such a clever idea. I don't know if you guys have seen that before, but I had never even thought to do that. I've always been like having to heat the wax up and pour it out. So however you would like to use to get your wax out, just remember to be safe while you're doing it so you don't burn yourself, you don't hurt yourself or pour wax all over anything. Again, I just used my heat tool to kind of soften it up, and then I was able to put those daffodils down in there. Now, I did originally put a couple of the leaves poking out of there, but kind of thought that it detracted a little bit from the arrangement. So I end up ultimately pulling those out of there. I did not leave them because I didn't love how they looked in there. These little jars have such a perfect shape. They look so cute, and so, but they do have the kind of this little bit of a neck on them that I thought would be perfect to kind of put a little jute twine around there, add a little bit more texture on there. You know how I love jute twine, so I add it to almost everything, but I wrap it around maybe like 10 times or so, and then I just tie it off, and then I make just another little finger bow to kind of put on there so it looks like it was tied. You guys have seen me do this before, and so I just kind of, you know the drill. Anyway, I tie that off and cut the tails, and then just using some hot glue, I stick that right on. You could also remove the label or turn the label around to the back. I actually thought the label was quite cute on there, just kind of to break up the whiteness of the glass and everything on there. So I ended up leaving it, but of course you could remove that if you wanted to. But here's what it looks like all finished. I think this is so cute. It is so happy and so cheery. Again, you guys heard me talk in my last video about how much I love tulips. I love a lot of spring flowers, and daffodils are so bright and happy. And there were so many of you that said those were your favorite spring flowers, and I totally can see why, because they're just so cheery. I found this funny little sign at Hobby Lobby from their Christmas. It was 90% off, so you can see I paid 69 cents for it. It is the perfect shape for a tiered tray. Although that saying, it doesn't really match our family. I mean, it's cute and it's funny and it would be kind of a little fun gift to give somebody or something. But I just decided to sand that completely off, and then you probably wouldn't even need to do that. I just didn't want the little raised letters or anything doing anything to my paint or showing through. So that's why I sanded it. But I'm just taking some elephant chalk paint and I just go over it and give it a nice coat of the gray there. And then I decide, I'm fairly new to chalk couture, and so I thought it would be kind of fun to get this little one that says garden vibes only, and thought that would be so cute for our tiered tray. This is just like screen printing or stenciling. You could easily do any of the Dollar Tree stencils that you can find, or a rub-on transfer, whatever you have. I think this turned out so cute. If you do want some more information about chalk couture, there's always a link down in my description box that you can check it out. If you're interested in knowing more, you can always message me. I know it's not for everyone. Some people absolutely love it. I am learning to think that it's like fantastic, and I'm loving it so far. But I just go over with a little bit of white chalk paint after that chalk couture dries, and go over it to kind of give it an aged look. To me, everything that sits in a garden looks very aged, and so that's why I like to kind of make it look chippy and everything. But I think this just turns out so cute. I stuck with the original colors of it, so I didn't have to change a lot. And for 69 cents, it was the perfect blank to do that with. On my last trip to Dollar Tree, I found these teeny little clipboards kind of in the frame section, and I thought they were adorable and perfect to make things to go on a tiered tray. So I am just removing the little bow that came on it and this little clip, because I didn't necessarily want the clip there. However, I bought a few of these, so I'm pretty sure I can do so many different fun things. So watch for more DIYs using these. But I did just heat it up because that little screw is glued in there as well as screwed in, so that's how I removed that. And I'm taking just this little grapevine wicker wreath that I have. I bought these at Christmas time in a pack of like 6 or 7. I have a ton of them, and I love using them on little projects. So if you ever see a bundle of little wreaths like this at your craft store, grab them, because I have used the heck out of these things. I just wrapped some yellow pipberry that I got at Hobby Lobby in a huge roll in the ribbon section around that little wreath to give it some texture and color. And I have these little 3-dimensional laser cut birds from Dollar Tree. They come like 3 or 4 in a pack. So I just picked one of those out, and to have it contrast with the wreath, I just put a little bit of white paint over it, and I just glued the wreath onto that little background, and I glued that bird onto the wreath. And this is so cute and just screams springtime. This is more of a hack to use in the floral section at Hobby Lobby for $10, but buy them when they're 50% off. So for $5, you can buy these. I'm not even sure what they're supposed to be, but you can remove these little wicker almost balls off of the top of this like floral accent thing here. And they're perfect to put in your decor. It makes them like, I don't know what, less than $2 a piece. I just think these are so cute. They're a decent size. They're like the size of a baseball, maybe even a bit bigger. Perfect to put and layer in your tiered trays. You guys, I feel like the wedding section at the craft stores is one of the most underrated sections. I always find the best things there, and when they go on sale at the different stores for like 50% off, you can get things for so cheap. That's where I found this little teeny, like, I don't know if it's wicker or grapevine or what it is, but it's a cute little, like, we're gonna call it a wicker basket, because that's what it looks like to me. But I mean, it was like a couple of dollars or $1.50 or something. It was so cheap, and I just had this little greenery that I decided to stick in there to look like a cute little plant. You could easily use some Dollar Tree picks or something in there, and I think this just looks so cute. So check out that wedding section next time you're at a craft store and see if there are some really fun finds for you. Isn't this little guy so cute? I just love garden gnomes. I don't necessarily decorate my home with gnomes, but I love them in my garden. And sometimes the things that you find, I did get this at Dollar Tree, but sometimes the things don't have the best paint job on them. So I'm going to make this a little bit more neutral, kind of like concrete or aged looking. So of course you could easily just leave this little guy the way that he was. I mean, he is darling. You could even paint over him in different colors, change his hat color, his shirt color, whatever you would want to do. But I'm just putting some white chalk paint all around him. I'm going to do 2 coats to get a really good coverage. You could even do more of a gray if you wanted like a true concrete look. You could spray paint him if that was easier. I even thought about spray painting him like a copper color, I thought, or a rust color would be kind of cute. Ultimately, this is the direction I went, but there's so many possibilities that you can do. I decided to put some antique wax. I decided to rub it on at first with a baby wipe and kind of go around it and then wipe off all the raised parts because I wanted that antiquing wax to go into all the little crevices and like the little locks of his hair and his beard and everywhere. And it just wasn't doing it the way that I wanted this way. I just really wanted it to look like it has sat out in a garden for a long, long time. Like he's really bringing like all of that good luck to your garden. And so I decided ultimately to get a brush and just go on. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so dark. This is not going to work at all. But you guys, it works so good. So just watch when I get my baby wipe out and start to wipe him off. And you see it all come off, except it's just deep down in all those little crevices. See what I mean? How that comes off? It just looks so good. And so I decided to keep going. And so I just go over the whole thing with this, every little area. I just layer the antiquing wax on fairly thick and just keep brushing over and over until I feel like I've got it in there enough. And then I will go in with the baby wipe and wipe it off. You wouldn't even have to use like a baby wipe. You could probably even just use a paper towel. But I just, like I said, I wanted him to look really aged, like he has just been sitting out in that garden for many, many years, just having a grand old time in your garden. After I get him aged a bit, I just want to take a little bit of what's dry left on my brush and kind of go over and highlight a little bit more just to add a little bit, kind of contrast that antique wax a little bit more. So that's what I'm doing here. Obviously, it would be optional to do this, but I really like the way that it kind of made a little bit more white pop on him. And I think he just turns out so cute. You guys, look at him. I just love him. He needs a name. I don't know what to name him. If you have an idea for a garden gnome name, please let me know down in the comments. I just think he is so cute. And I haven't really decorated in my home with gnomes. I know that they're really big and everybody loves them. I've always liked garden gnomes, but he's going to have to stay, I think. I really like him. I found these little hexagon shapes at Dollar Tree last time I was there, so I picked up a couple of them because I love having them for little projects, for tiered trays, or just to add to your little vignette. They're so easy and so fun to make over. So after removing the tag on the back, I just cover the whole thing in white chalk paint. I'm also going to use one of these little galvanized flowers that you get at the crafter section at Dollar Tree, as well as one of these rub-on transfers of this little wreath. And I wasn't sure how this was going to look on the middle, but I think it turns out really cute. So you just rub that on with like a craft stick or something, and then you just peel that back. And now I'm going to use just one of the tumbling tower blocks to glue that on to give it kind of a 3D push from that hexagon shape. And I felt like it needed something a little extra. So I have these little wooden laser cut birds that also came from Dollar Tree. They come in like a 3-pack or something. So I just use a little hot glue and glue that right onto the wreath there. And then to make the shape of the hexagon pop, I just use a little bit of elephant chalk paint and go around, and you could use whatever color, antique wax, whatever, any dark gray, and just go on all the edges. Now I thought it would be fun to make this 2-sided. So I decided to put a chalk couture transfer on the back. So I'm just using this darling little spring has sprung. It looks like a cute little flower. And I am totally new to the chalk couture world, but I am loving it. And I'll leave a link to my chalk couture store down in my description box if you want to check anything out there. But it is just kind of like screen printing. Like it is actually so satisfying when you get this on and then you watch this peel here. I just love that, and I love the negative space of the words on there. I just think this turns out so cute. And of course, I do distress around the edges, so on the back side to match the front. And you can see how cute that looks. The spring has sprung. And then I love this side with all of these little 3D elements. But this way, from both sides you see it, that sign is absolutely darling. You could even have the one side out for spring and leave this other side out year round. Okay, I jumped on the little bandwagon of buying these little snakes at Dollar Tree. I just bought one because I've seen people make little wreaths out of them or little door hangers, and I thought they were so cute, but I never could find the right project for it. But I feel like this tiered tray project was perfect. So I just snapped off, that sounds really demented. I snapped off the head and I snapped off the tail, and you don't have to cut them. I thought maybe at first I would have to cut it with my scissors, but they break right off. And then I'm just using some wood glue, and I use a little bit of hot glue for that short-term hold, and I just hold it together until it starts to secure, and then I let it dry overnight before I start to mess around with it. And this thing has a firm hold. And I'm just taking a flower pick wherever you have one from Dollar Tree. You can even just cut like a piece off of Dollar Tree or some little florals. And I just kind of wrap the wire around there and then glue that on. And then I do have this little cute little burlap bow that I just glued on there as well. And I thought this was just so cute and so fun. It brings that really nice like wood feel, floral feel. I just love all the textures of this. I would like to thank you guys so much for joining me today to watch how I made all of these tiered tray DIYs. I hope that you guys enjoyed them. I think they all look so cute on this tiered tray. I actually am loving the roof of that little birdhouse. I think it looks so cute with the light on it and everything. They all turned out so fun, and I'm so excited to use this in my decor. Do you guys like to do tiered trays? Are you guys liking different ideas for tiered tray videos? I would love to know down in the comments, as well as if you have an idea for that cute little garden gnome. He definitely needs a name, so let me know down in the comments if you have an idea for that. I would like to thank you so much for taking time to watch this compilation make a video. It really means a lot to me. Did your favorite make the list? Did you see something new that you enjoyed? I would love to know down in the comments, either one of those. I always love reading what you guys enjoy seeing. I hope that you have such an amazing day, and I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you like the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.